Okay, we're going to shift to our next debate now. Less than 2 weeks ahead of polling in Punjab, the Enforcement Directorate has arrested Punjab Chief Minister's nephew, Bhupinder Singh Honey. His arrest was following day-long questioning in an illegal sand mining case. The arrest has snowballed into a huge political controversy, with the Congress saying that the Enforcement Directorate was acting at the behest of the BJP. The Congress party claims that this is nothing but political witch hunt. In fact, they've labelled the ED the election department of the BJP and questioned the timing of the arrest. There is almost a sense of deja vu to this arrest. It follows a pattern that we've seen repeatedly in the run-up to elections. Probe agencies, be it the ED or the CBI, suddenly remember old cases. Raids and arrests on political adversaries on the eve of polls, a pattern that is followed irrespective of which government is in power. So have probe agencies been reduced to instruments to settle political scores? How do we ensure that agencies are insulated from politics? And how do we ensure that agencies are truly independent? Jaibans Singh, the state media advisor in the BJP Punjab unit, Dr Anshul Avijit, the national spokesperson of the Congress, joins us. Let me start with the BJP. Okay, we'll start with the Congress because I'm told the BJP is not ready just yet. When we had the famous quote of caged parrot, the CBI being a caged parrot, that was during the UPS tenure. So how can we draw a distinction between the raids, the arrests that happened in the UPA tenure and the NDA tenure?
No, here there is a clear case of weaponization of agencies. I mean, there is abuse of laws as well, but we'll come to that in a minute. This is a clear, unequivocal case of political targeting by a highly insecure government. The fact that Mr. Honey is absolutely clear. I mean, there are no charges against him. There's not even been a charge sheet. There was no FIR. Points to the fact that this is a case of political vendetta. And BJP is set out to come a cropper in this election, and therefore it is doing it as an act of revenge. It has done it before as well, Aarti. It's done it in Madhya Pradesh as well, before the Madhya Pradesh elections in 2018. If you remember, there were cases, there were raids as well. They've done it in Rajasthan as well. So they're routinely doing it. And I'll tell you something else. It's not only weaponizing agencies against its political foes, but it is also doing it against anyone actually who speaks against the government. A classic example of that was the Dainik Bhaskar case last year, if you remember. This newspaper group was unremitting in its critique of the government as far as its response to the pandemic went, in particular in two states, in Gujarat and in UP, where it says UP, I mean, it showed pictures of bodies floating down the Ganga and the funeral pyres that refused to die down, the queues outside the cremation grounds and outside graveyards. And it was punished for that in a sub-series of raids throughout India in all their offices. So they've done that again. Now, as far as laws are concerned, they've abused the laws as well. It has a vast arsenal of things. If weaponization of agencies doesn't happen, then you've got laws, you've got abuse of laws, you've got UAPA, you've got 124A, you've got NSA. For God's sake, they've used NSA, which is an act against treason, for cattle farmers in UP. They've used UAPA, a draconian law, for lifting a 22-year-old environmental activist, for students.
Okay, so the BJP is back with us. Yeah, Avijit, the BJP is back with us. We had a little bit of an audio problem to start off with. Mr. Singh, why is it that suddenly, 2 weeks before the election, suddenly the ED has remembered this case? Mr. Singh?
Yeah, in between it went away. I heard some part of it.
Yes, my question to you was, why is it that suddenly an old case has been revived, and more importantly, the timing of it?
Thank you very much for calling me to Mirror Now. I personally feel that law and order issues should be totally divorced from politics. The ED is doing what it is supposed to do. This is a very old case which started in 2018, and the process of law takes its own time to go into its fruition. You have to realize that the person, Honey, who is involved in this case is by no means a political face. except for the fact that he is the nephew of the Chief Minister, Charanjit Channi. We have not put any allegations on Channi at all. So where is the problem? And the Chief Minister himself, the ex-Chief Minister, now working Chief Minister, he himself has said that let the law take its own turn. So why are we involving this particular ED case with the politics of Punjab at this moment? Secondly, Congress has also put in a very big case against Majithia earlier. Now, Majithia is a political figure. They went against a political figure out of vendetta, and they could not prove anything as far as Majithia is concerned, and Majithia is out on bail. As far as the ED case against Honey is concerned, we have found incriminating evidence, and after having found the evidence, we have given him enough time to tell us, to explain himself, and he has not been attending the ED meetings, for which reason he has been arrested. I think we should totally isolate the case of this law and order issue, which is of great importance to Punjab, because mining and other, foreign transactions is the kind of corruption that Punjab is looking for.
Mr. Singh, though, it isn't a case only about this specific incident. This is not an isolated incident. For several years now, the opposition has been saying that probe agencies, the ED, the income tax, the CBI is being used to witch hunt or to go after political adversaries. And funnily enough, old cases always get revived before the election or just after the election.
The case has not been revived before the election. I would not have anything to say about the other cases that are there because I am not an expert on it. I have not studied them. I know only this much, that this particular case has been going on for a long time, and the due process of law is taking place, in which a person who is not a political entity has been caught in the ED net, and investigation is on. He has been, you can say that it is vendetta if the ED had gone to his house and found nothing. ED has found 10 crore rupees over there. It has found other incriminating evidences. And now I read from the media reports that he has also admitted that he has got something to do with sand mining and with certain foreign transactions. So ED is well within its right to go and investigate the case. We have said nothing about Chief Minister Channi in this.
Avijit?
The fact that he is a nephew of Chief Minister Channi is only incidental.
Okay, Avijit, has this argument that these agencies are being used, has that become a ready-made defense? There could be cases that are genuinely, there's incriminating material found, but it's almost an easy tool, it's an easy escape route to say these agencies are after us.
No, the evidence is before us.
Madam, no, Mr. Singh,
the evidence is
Mr.
before
Singh,
us.
let the Congress answer, please.
No, the evidence is before us. It's not just the ED, it's the income tax as well. It's the election commission as well. I mean, there are a range of weaponry that this armaments that this government has to unleash on the opposition. In fact, all the detractors of this government. I've given you numerous examples and I'll keep giving more. You know, this case is absolutely baseless because it's an old case, as it was said before. It's an old case in which there was not even a charge sheet that was framed. There was no FIR. You know, Mr. Honey was not even mentioned earlier. So suddenly this has come out on the eve of elections. Don't you find it suspicious? Of course it is, because you got so insecure about your impending loss in the state and you wanted to take revenge over the Firozpur incident, which nothing came about, obviously. And therefore you want to do this. You've done it before. And now you're unleashing all manner of things on people. You've done it again repeatedly over a number of other things. You've used laws, and the media, you've gone after the media as well. You've threatened them, you've intimidated them, you've used Pegasus. You know, the Pegasus is another thing that has come out at the moment, and the evidence against the use, or rather for the use of Pegasus, grows louder and louder.
Okay, but we're not discussing Pegasus, though. We're not discussing Pegasus.
I'm just talking about this entire framework of this government in which so many instruments, including technology, including the agencies, including the law, including disrespecting the opposition, including polarization of people on the grounds of religion, why religion is being used as a
Mr. Singh, I know you you don't want to talk about any other incident or the specifics of that. But the larger point that this discussion also wants to touch upon is that the misuse of agencies. Not, like I said, it's not happened only in one case. It's happened in several cases. And the question about misusing central agencies is something that has been leveled against the BJP.
Madam, I will only refute all these allegations most vigorously. And I will only stick myself to this particular case over here. My friend from the Congress has made an allegation that the Election Commission is also not partisan. And I think the Election Commission will have to take cognizance of this comment that my friend has taken over here, because it is a comment which goes against the constitutional authority of the Election Commission. And as far as revenge for Firozpur is concerned, Madam, the Firozpur incident was a very serious incident for which there is a committee of Supreme Court which is working to find out the problems. And the problems can also, they can go anyway. They can also go towards, incriminating partially the SPG too. So we cannot possibly equate the very huge security breach which took place when the Prime Minister was in Punjab with this very small incident of law and order of criminality, which is being investigated by the ED in Punjab, and for which there is circumstantial evidence enough for the ED to arrest that person who is not a political entity at all. I do not see why the Congress is getting so insecure about all this, and why is it coming out with such vague statements as my friend from the Congress has made just now. And he says that the media...
I need to wrap this up, but I need to wrap this up. Avijit, I'm going to give you exactly 30 seconds, please. We're running out of time.
No, I'd just like to remind my very honorable counterpart from the BJP that actually it was the Madras High Court, as far as the Election Commission is concerned, who said that these people are murderers because they had a 6-phase election at the very height of the coronavirus.
Okay, Mr. Singh, you'll respond. I will give you opportunity to respond to that allegation. No, I will give you an opportunity, Mr. Singh, to respond. You have my word. You will get an opportunity to respond, but let him just finish his point.
No, madam, he cannot make this kind of...
No, you can completely refute it. You can shred it to pieces, but please just let him finish.
About the
Madras High Court, it is on the record what they said. It is the Allahabad High Court that called the UP government in their reaction to the coronavirus last year as genocidal.
Okay, we're not discussing that though. Please, we're not discussing that, Avijit. Let's stick to the brief. We're not discussing any of those things. We're talking about agencies.
Because there was no charge sheet that was formed. It was a very old case. It's extremely suspicious, and we know the motives that it's come out over now. There is nothing hidden behind it. Let me remind my friend, the honorable counterpart here, that the Dainik Bhaskar was also raided immediately.
Okay, you've made that point. You've made that point
of the government.
Yes, Mr. Singh.
Using the very agencies.
Yes, okay.
Income tax.
Mr. Singh, you can respond now. Mr. Singh, you can respond.
Look, I am very, very sad by the argument which my friend from the Congress has given just now. He is talking of everything other than the topic which is to be discussed, and he has made certain statements which do not behove a good party. They are very serious statements, first on the Election Commission and then calling certain people murderers and things like that. I think that the insecurity of the Congress party is very much visible as far as all this is concerned. And I really feel that the Congress party should moderate itself when it is coming for a discussion on a national channel. What he has said is very sad, and I think he should take back all his words.
Okay, I unfortunately don't have time. I don't have time. No, Mr. Singh and Avijit, I don't have time, unfortunately. We need to wrap this up. It's a constant grouse that the opposition keeps raising, that the Enforcement Directorate, the CBI or the income tax are being used as instruments. They're being used and weaponized against the opposition parties.